Today we have Tammy Nelson, PhD. She is a sex and relationship therapist, a TEDx speaker, and the host of the podcast, The Trouble with Sex. She's also the author of Open Monogamy and When You're the One Who Cheats. So those are, you're gonna do it?
Yeah, I'm just going to hold it just in case.
So that's two books that you have. We've also had lots of different kind of relationships and other people who have podcasts and people in polyamorous relationships and all. And we find it so interesting because we are just two married women in monogamous relationships.
Truth.
And it's always like you always just want to be a fly on the wall or at least find out what other people are doing, not only because it's interesting, but also because life is long. It's interesting to find out what else is out there. People change. So what are you, can we ask you with the book Open Monogamy, what is that?
So the way that came about, I mean, I've been a therapist for about 35 years and I've been seeing couples and individuals, frankly, for a long time. And I've written 6 books, and one of them was
The
New Monogamy, which was redefining your relationship after infidelity. And I talked about how to create like a conversation around what did you want your relationship agreement to look like if you were going to stay together. And, you know, there's a continuum of monogamy, all the way from very traditional monogamy to wide open anarchy. And I had so many people contact me and ask me, well, do we have to have an affair to have that conversation? Like, shouldn't we do it preventatively, like all the time? And so Open Monogamy is a guide to creating, you know, your relationship agreement that I think you should do on a regular basis and revisit it. You know, I think it should be flexible and fluid, and I don't really care what it is, but I'm going to tell you how to talk about it. So, you know, that you can renew it anytime you want. And, you know, people think monogamy is kind of binary, you know, it's either totally closed or totally open. But there's a lot of gray areas in there that I don't think we talk about. So it's a way to help people have those conversations.
What about what about emotional monogamy versus like physical monogamy? Because I think a lot of people feel like they'll see text messages from a coworker or, you know, someone in their life and they're like, feels weird. But they are more understanding of it for some people. Like they're more willing to let that one kind of go.
Because it wasn't physical?
I guess, yeah.
Well, I don't know if we can say a lot of people feel anything. I think what's important is to figure out, what do you feel? Like, what do you think? And what do you want? And what do you and your partner think? Because a lot of people have what I call the monogamy gap. We can say that about a lot of people. I think maybe even most people, if I can make assumptions, that, you know, in a relationship, you have this implicit assumption about what you think monogamy should be. And your partner has an implicit assumption about what monogamy should be, even if explicitly you've said, oh yeah, we're never going to sleep with someone else, or, you know, don't tell your coworkers about our sex life. But I think there's like this implicit difference. So you might think, well, of course you shouldn't like be texting your coworker. Like, it's 9:00 at night and we're in bed. And they're thinking, I just have to make sure that we get to the meeting tomorrow. Like, we have this assumption about what does it actually mean. And unless you actually make it explicit and talk about it, then it becomes secret instead of just, this is part of my private life.
Or you remember that it just happened. It was an Usher concert, or it was one of the concerts, and she got a dance from Usher. I think it was Usher, and the husband divorced her after he saw.
And she didn't think she did anything wrong.
No, she was at a concert with like did you not see this? It was like, it was just in the news, and it was like in a concert of like 50,000 people, and she's the one on the stage and he's lap dancing her, and she basically goes home and he's like, we're getting divorced. I saw what you did.
Like people who think that it's cheating watching like porn, and the other person's like, what the hell?
So that would all be included in the agreement.
You know, it's so crazy.
Don't dance with Usher.
Don't dance with Usher. Yeah, that should be on there. We always talk about when people get, a lot of times when people get married, they've just maybe been dating, they're still in the honeymoon phase, they're young, they don't even have experience in the world, and that you really don't have a conversation about much, like not about monogamy, not about budget, not about how you're going to parent your kids and all of this. But that sounds like, I mean, something that understanding what your partner's idea of monogamy is for the rest of your life would be like. I feel like most don't even want to have the conversation.
But when you get married, there's a written rule of monogamy, right? Like that is marriage, you would say, unless you.
Not really written. I mean, it's assumed. So
assumed.
It's like if you say, I promise to love and honor you for the rest of our lives. Okay, well, what does that mean? Does that, we don't say, I promise to love, honor you, never look at porn, never contact my ex on Facebook, and I'm never going to talk to anyone or like their bathing suit picture on Instagram, and I'm never going to have a lap dance by Usher, I swear to God. Life has changed. The world has changed.
Right.
So we have to be really clear what monogamy means nowadays, because the world is much more digi-sexual. There's much more technology. And by the way, I think the Usher thing should have been a free pass, but that's just my personal opinion.
Oh my God, same here. No, it was, that's why it was news everywhere. And I have to find, I'm like pretty sure it was Usher. It was
or Chris Brown.
No,
it was Usher.
I feel like Usher's known for dancing with girls on stage.
Yes, so does Chris, and so does Usher. You're right.
It's one of them, and I saw the headline. I'm like, that is, and there was a whole debate online, which is kind of what you're saying is, I guess the thing is, it's open to interpretation based on your you go in with a history, they go in with a history. You might be like, that's no big deal, and they're like, that's a big deal to me, and that's why we enter you with an agreement.
One time we were sitting here on our podcast and we were just talking about monogamy and cheating and what's cheating. And we ended up going on to Ashley Madison and signing up. And we sat here and I remember we found some guys and you could see their faces and all of this. And then we heard that you work with Ashley Madison.
Oh, I do consulting for Ashley Madison, and I did a whole bunch of research for my book, When You're the One Who Cheats.
Yeah.
Oh, I can tell you that story if you want.
I want to hear that story, and I also want to know how they would use you for what they do.
Yeah. So I'm a consultant. I'm not an employee, and I'm not like, pro affairs. And so part of being a consultant is trying to steer the conversation to the reality of there's a lot of people out there that want to have outside relationships or multiple relationships, and they want privacy, but they don't necessarily want secrecy. There's studies that show that if they could have an open relationship, they would. They don't know how to ask for it. They don't know how to talk about it. I think there's a certain amount of people that would always cheat. They'll always sort of compartmentalize. They kind of get off on it. There's a lot of energy to hiding relationships, or they even cheat to stay in their marriage. Like sometimes people have sexual needs or issues that they think their partner won't have. That's a sort of different conversation than people who really want to have multiple relationships and need privacy. Like they don't want their people at work to know, or they don't want their neighbors to know. So I think that Ashley Madison, simply because they have 90 million members worldwide, could be a different kind of dating site, because people ironically are being honest about the fact that they want multiple relationships. If you go on Tinder, you don't really know if they're married or not married, or if they're telling the truth, or what they really want, or, if they're even a real person. So there's something to be said for that piece. And the other way that I consult for them is just to talk about the reality of infidelity today. Like, what does it mean? Why do people cheat?
Tell us more. Why? What is the reality? And also, I want to know the stat about when you said it's not necessarily just that it's not mostly the men. I want that too.
Well, statistically, even on Ashley Madison, it's pretty evenly divided, actually. And they actually went through a lot.
I thought I would have thought it would be 90-10. I would have thought that. I can't imagine that. And this is I shouldn't never underestimate women and what they want to do to be happy. But I wouldn't think that they would have like, guys, you just kind of think like they would just have the wrong word is balls, but like have the balls to just sign up and think they're never going to get caught. No one's going to know about it. But I feel like women, it's like, I'm too aware of too many things to put myself out there like that. I'm too smart because I'm a woman.
Well, you're partly right. I mean, women do cheat as often as men. They're just much smarter at hiding it.
Yep.
Much better at it. And I mean, I think historically there's been much greater punishment for women for getting caught, right? Still. I mean, even in 4 countries, I think you can like be stoned to death in the street for cheating, but that doesn't mean they don't do it. So the reality is they're still doing it. They're just much more subtle about it, much more hidden. And, they disguise themselves. And
like with real disguises, like with like wigs and stuff?
Sometimes. I mean, they just don't put their photos up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was like, what? Wow. That is elaborate.
Off their eyes,
Right.
That is elaborate.
Okay, and why do people cheat?
Well, there's just as many reasons as people cheat as there are people. But I think they fall into certain categories. Like some people cheat as a can opener, like a way to get out of a relationship. Like I'm going to cheat so that I can like accidentally be caught. And then my partner will get to be the victim and I'll be the bad guy. And
people really do that?
What do you
think? That sounds so scary to do it to be caught.
I feel like some people aren't as evolved and they do it like subconsciously and then they're like, I wasn't really
happy. If I do this,
anyway.
This will happen.
I don't want to use my words, so I'll use my actions to get out of it. It's like what kids do. They're children who are grown up.
It's also very passive aggressive, right? It's that we're not taught to like communicate and talk to a partner, and it's too scary, and so we'll let them do it, and also we'll take the fall.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll be the bad guy, and you can tell all our family and our friends that I cheated on you. So you can get a good one.
Oh, right.
Wow.
It's also easier because it's kind of more clean cut. Like it's like you have a reason you can leave, right? It's sort of like now we can end this. We don't have to talk about our feelings and how it just makes it easier to leave in a way.
Okay, what's another one? There's the can opener. What else?
Well, sometimes people need to swing from branch to branch, like to find that somebody else is actually going to be out there that might be interesting. And it gives you the confidence to know, like, you know what, maybe I do have a future with somebody else. Maybe there are people out there that can be.
That sounds like
they get a backup. They're like, I've got my batter next up.
It's also like what I do. I'm like, I always tell Kat, I'm like, I'm pretty sure if like Mark dies or we get a divorce, that there's going to be a lineup. Like, I think I am quite the prize, and I think she is too. And she's like, I'm not so sure it would be that easy. I'm like, I actually think a lot of people's husbands would really like, woo, yeah, Natalie's single. So I went to a club 2 weeks ago, and I told Kat that I was gonna like. I said,
put some effort in. Let's see what your net
I
worth
really
is
did.
here. Let's go.
I wore like a spaghetti strap tank top, like I showed a bit of skin. I put some like shimmer on. I look like someone who kept themselves. And Kat's like the next day, she's like, so how many people came up to you? And I was like, okay, well, none. But I think that I was intimidating. I was acting a little too confident out there, and they didn't feel like they could approach me. So I'm going to go next time, and I'm going to be a little bit more loosey, like open, because
people talk to her friends. So I thought, okay.
Yeah,
well,
they got like they were asking for the number. So I'm like, I don't really, there must have been some confusion. Because I would like that idea is like, well, if I were to put myself out there and know that it's true, because sometimes you don't know, like, are you still attractive? Would anybody like you if things were to fall apart, or if you want to leave, or would I just be alone? Would it be easier to just stay with this guy?
You could find someone. I believe
no,
in
I
you.
know that,
I believe in that.
and I just haven't had proof yet.
So does Mark know about this?
I love that she knows your husband's name.
I said it.
Yes.
I mean, I think he knows that I think I could get people. Yeah, he knows. He knows that I think so.
I haven't talked to him recently about it. Next time we're out, I'll give him a little dial in and ask.
Well, I mean, that is a version of an open relationship, to be able to say, I'm going to go out and see if I can pick up guys. Just to see if I can like check off the list. I mean, that is, if
you're in an open relationship.
I feel so like
progressive.
Yes.
Whoa.
You got it. You call Mark and tell him.
It's only open if you tell him. If you don't tell him, it's kind of cheating.
Oh.
You are.
Seemed a little bit more. It seemed easier with the cheating. Okay. So I definitely understand that one.
Right.
Why else do people cheat?
Well, I think for exactly that reason, to like see if somebody else can be attracted to them, if they're still desirable. You know, sometimes moms want to feel like they're not just a mom, like they're still hot, they still got it.
Oh, you got so many reasons on that list.
Okay, that makes sense. And is there other reasons why people cheat? Like one, to like get out of the relationship, two, to see if you still got it. What else? There's got to be other.
Well, I can tell you, I want to go back to the research that I did when I wrote When You're the One Who Cheat. On Ashley Madison, they gave me a profile as a man and as a woman. And when I was the woman and guys were writing to me, you know, trying to like hook up with me or whatever, they all wanted a relationship. They didn't want sex. They wanted a regular girlfriend. They didn't want to end their marriage, but they didn't want someone that was like a one night stand. They didn't want someone that was going to sleep with a lot of people. They really wanted like the girlfriend experience where it was almost like a parallel marriage. Like they really wanted someone they could text every day and someone they could talk about their feelings to and someone they could really be emotionally connected to. And then when I was the man and women were reaching out to me, all the women were sending me like bathing suit pictures and lingerie and boob shots. And they were all saying, look, I don't want to hear your problems. I don't want to know about work. You have a wife for that. I just want to have sex after I put the kids on the bus and I don't need to see you again. And it should be hot and it should be kinky. And this is the way I want it. I mean, every single one. It's not like it was like a, you know, one shot deal. Like really, honestly, this was the pattern. So as much as people think guys want to have affairs for sex and women want emotional connection, it's not true. I think women carry the emotional labor in most relationships and most marriages, and they're like burnt out with it. And they're like, I don't need any more of that. But statistically, women are bored with sex much sooner than men in a marriage. So, you know, middle-aged women were all over it. They were like, okay, let's go. And guys are really detached from their wives, and they really are looking for something more.
Oh, wow. You know, like on a very surface level, it kind of it feels like it feels like it would be the opposite. But when you talk about how much a woman carries emotionally with everything that's going on, she does not need more.
It's funny you say that because I feel like when people think they're like, let's say you're not having sex in your marriage as much as they'd like, and a man could maybe assume that you're interested in somebody else, but it sounds like what the man wants from your research is her to be more available, but what the woman wants is to be less available and to be more desired. So it's like a disconnect that we're having because men assume that automatically you are just attracted to someone else, but women are like, I don't actually want anyone else. I just want to stop being the laborer in our relationship. If that's what your research would say, if I was to sum it up.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Do you think men and women would be shocked by that research? Because I think so many women think
he just wants to go out and fuck girls.
Yeah, it's so interesting because you're actually debunking the exact myth that everyone would think.
Yeah, I think people were shocked. I think people were surprised, but I also think they felt heard and seen. They were like, I didn't tell anyone about that went, no, that's not true for me. Actually, everyone was like, yeah, that's really true.
Yeah, because I don't know one woman who has more time for a relationship. Like, I don't know one woman who's like, I'm looking to add more of a relationship into my life. Like, I actually have never heard one woman like, let's add more in. Let's get more complicated with another person's shit. I'm already dealing with everybody else's. That's such good intel for men. That's a very simple fix. If you really think about it, men say they want more sex. Women want more emotional. Like,
that's why I'm always so blown away when like a woman gets divorced and then we see she's like quickly dating another guy. But then Kat was saying like, give it some time. Like maybe like the people they're dating now, it's that same
less
like
baggage.
Excitement thing. But then eventually it could turn into the same
That is shocking. Did anything else shock you when you were doing your research about, like, did anything impact your practice when you did, and the way you understood men and women in relationships? Were you like, wow, I had no idea in the real-time research?
Well, what it confirmed for me, I also wrote a book called Getting the Sex You Want, which was for couples. And what I figured out in that research and working with couples and doing that, in that clinical work and sort of anecdotally, from working with all those couples, I think doing the research just affirmed for me that when women, this is heterosexual and gay women, when women say that they have low desire, number one, they say that because they're tired. At the end of the day, they're like, okay, I'm just exhausted. I really don't have the energy for it. And number two, it's not so much about not wanting sex. It's like if the party is good enough, of course I'm going to want to go if I have the energy. So it may not be about not wanting to have sex. It may be that they don't want to have that kind of sex. Maybe the sex isn't good enough, or it's not intriguing enough, or it's okay enough, but not enough to not want to go to sleep instead. So
yeah.
So she's nodding like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's our favorite thing to go to sleep.
Yeah.
What about the whole like premise of emotional connection, like women just going to bed? You have a whole day of the budget, the things, and like you're managing people, and then going to bed and then just being like, it's time for sex, like, and not having the connection that you're looking for previous to the bedroom. Like, but it sounds like men want that. This is what's very confusing to me, because women are like, I want to be heard and seen, and men are like, I want to be heard and seen. So is no one being heard and seen?
Well, I don't know if it's so much by gender, but some people do want to be emotionally connected before they have sex, and other people feel emotionally connected from having sex.
So that's hard. That's complicated.
Very true.
It's very complicated. But one thing to know about female bodies is that, look, there's a difference between arousal and desire. So it's not like desire is free floating. If you are tired, if you have a business, if you have kids, if you have, you're not going to come home and sweep the dishes off the kitchen table and say, oh my God, take me now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of why people have affairs, because sometimes that does happen.
Yeah. Oh, right.
But arousal is what you feel in your body. So if you can have arousal first, then desire kicks in. So women have a lot of layers of arousal, like levels before they feel desire. It's why if you can feel relaxed, if you can feel like massage, if you get touched, if you feel connected, if there's levels of arousal, many times you go, oh, now I feel desire. Why don't we do this more often? This is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a while to get there.
That's
I also want to know, like, because I was seeing a lot of the stats that were sent over, and it was like that there was like more often people are cheating or having affairs with from different countries. I saw that in Brazil and India, they have more than half of the people admit to having affairs. Is there any reason why some countries are more than others?
I mean, I don't really know. I can make some guesses. This is my sort of intellectualized guess. I don't know if I'm right. But I think some countries, first of all, they have more arranged marriages than they do here. People get married for things besides love and besides sexual attraction. So there's more of a tendency to split off or compartmentalize their sexual relationships outside of their marriage. Like marriage it's like a Madonna whore split, like home, wife, family, partnership. She's the good girl. I can't do those crazy sexual things with her. That's toxic and weird. So I split it off outside to the bad girl, to the bad boy, to the sex worker, to porn, whatever. I'm going to like split off my desires out there so it doesn't, mess up my home life. And so there may be more of that split. I mean, we do that in the US and in Canada too, but there's, I think in some countries it's more of an acceptance. Like in Argentina, I have therapist friends that say, why are Americans so honest? Like, that's so mean. Why would you want to tell your partner everything that you're doing? That's just wrong. Like in therapy there, they like work on how to keep a secret.
Oh my gosh, that's so interesting.
That's actually, that's interesting to know too, right? Wow. Oh my gosh.
Also, I saw the other stat that like the in your sibling order, the eldest is if you're the eldest child, you're more likely to cheat. What's that?
I don't know, because I'm the oldest. I saw that too. I was like, wait.
She thought she threw it in there. She's like, I'm the oldest. Let's throw that stat in there.
The only thing I can think of for that is, oldest children are more independent. They tend to make their own decisions, and they break away from their family in different ways. Younger children tend to be more caretaking, more dependent. Middle children tend to be less, they make less waves, they want to make everybody happy. So those are just generalizations, though. I don't know if we can generalize. I thought it was an interesting fact. I don't.
Yeah. Yes. And as a therapist, do you think that if you're having the feeling that you would like to open up or talk about, is it okay to cheat and hide it? Or only in Argentina?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it is.
Like, would you tell your clients, like, if that's just, or would you really encourage them to talk about the different levels of monogamy and talk about opening it up?
I mean, I believe personally, and as a therapist, that marriage is not necessarily based on morality. It's not like good, bad, right, or wrong anymore. It's more based on integrity. So what I mean by integrity is how much can you integrate into your relationship? How much can you say, you know what, this is a part of me. This is the kind of sex I want to have. This is the fantasies that I have. This is what I imagine if we're going to live together and be sexual for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years together. Like, how are we going to make this work? And can I really show you transparently who I am and what I want? Like, integrity is hard. It's much different than splitting off parts of yourself, compartmentalizing, hiding it, disintegrating parts of yourself.
So add like sexual vows into the vows at the altar.
Your sexuality, everything, all the parts of you. Like, I had a couple who he would hide the fact that he went to the movies during the day instead of going to work. Like, he was afraid that his partner was going to be mad at him. Like, what would it be like to be transparent about that and say, I really like Marvel movies, and I go during the day, and I'm afraid you're going to be mad at me and think like I'm blowing off my sales job, which they probably would have been. But I mean, is it better to be honest about that? Like, what's the difference between secrecy and privacy?
That's a good question.
Yeah, we see that in like porn you brought up before. Like, sometimes I get couples where, and it's usually heterosexual couples, where women will walk in on a guy masturbating to porn and she feels like he's cheating on her, and he'll say, oh my God, I've been doing this since I was 10. Like, this has nothing to do with you. It's totally compartmentalized. And I don't know if that has more to do with masturbation. Like, should we tell each other every time we masturbate? Or does it have to do with you're looking at people that don't look like me, and therefore that takes away from my own self-esteem and how I feel like, God, if you're attracted to that, you won't be attracted to me. Or, there's a lot of things going on there about what we're supposed to talk about and share.
Wow. If we've left people with this, like with questions,
so many questions. We've got 6 books.
Yeah. And where would you suggest they start if they're like, I'm thinking that I am not happy in my sex life or my relationship. How can they find you, and where should they start with
but
you?
I'm looking for something
more
else.
I mean, there's a lot of questions in there. I'm looking for something else could mean a lot of different things. Yeah. You can go to my website, drtammynelson.com, and they can find, it's drtammynelson.com. You can find all my books. And I have like free downloads and stuff. You could start there. You can go to my website and find where the podcast is. I think I think the easiest thing is to find ways to start talking to your partner, but also how to find a conversation starter that starts with like, what do I want? There's a site that we set up called openmonogamytoolkit.com, which has like ways to figure out, okay, where do I fall on the open monogamy continuum, or how do I start the conversation, or what are the questions that we should be talking about? I'm not trying to sell my products, but I have like a date night card deck where, actually I might have a copy of it. So
is it conversation starters?
Yeah, the conversation starters. So you pick a card and, it brings out everything from, some friendly sexual conversation to kinky things to open relationship things. And if you don't like it, you put it back. But it's conversation starters. And on the back, there's sort of a psychological reason why you would talk about it. And to be honest, I do that with my husband all the time. I use them all the time. It's just fun. And sometimes if you can make these conversations fun and not so serious, like, oh my God, we're going to get a divorce if we talk about your coworker that you were texting today, it makes it easier.
Yeah.
True story.
Yeah.
Wow. You kind of blew my mind with the facts, and we appreciate you so much being here and shedding light on a topic that's often taboo. And it's nice to hear that people can talk about it without getting divorced.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
You're welcome. Hopefully they'll say they heard it here and they heard it from you guys. And that
You heard it here first.
Thank you.